It is now my pleasure to bring to you our keynote speaker, Justice John Couriel. He became the 90th Justice of the Florida Supreme Court on June 1st, 2020, when he was appointed by Governor DeSantis. He was born in Miami and is the son of Cuban immigrants that came to the US in the 1960s. He's married to Dr. Rebecca Tunkel, and they have 2 children. Justice Couriel received his A.B. magna cum laude from Harvard College in 2000 and his J.D. from Harvard Law School in 2003. He clerked for the Honorable John Bates of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia before joining Davis, Polk, and Wardwell in New York. His practice there included securities offerings, mergers and acquisitions, bankruptcy matters, and investigations. In 2009, he became an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He prosecuted hundreds of federal offenses, including international money laundering, public integrity and healthcare fraud, and human trafficking crimes. I'd like all of you to please give a warm ABOTA Fort Lauderdale welcome to Florida Supreme Court Justice John Couriel.
Thank you, Jeff, for inviting me to join you today, and thank you all for your work on behalf of this noble cause. Congratulations, Judge Carolisa Phillips and Mitch Chester, on your richly deserved recognition today, and good luck and congratulations to all the new ABOTA officers. Thank you, Chief Judge Jack Tudor, for your leadership and creativity, and thanks to all of my fellow judges assembled here today for the work you're doing every day during these very uncertain times. Today, I thought I'd talk a little bit about surprises. The last year has obviously been full of those, mostly unpleasant for most of us. I'm blessed and grateful that in these very difficult times, there have been some happy surprises too. One was the invitation to join you today and to learn a little bit more about your organization. The American Board of Trial Advocates is laudably committed to the 7th Amendment jury trial right. The right of all free people to a jury trial in civil matters was in fact so important to the founding generation that when the Constitution didn't affirmatively include it, Alexander Hamilton had to explain that it wasn't going anywhere. The result is Federalist number 83, which is still a very good reading about the place of the jury in our society. In it, Hamilton writes, quote, "The friends and adversaries of the plan of the convention, if they agree in nothing else, concur at least in the value they set upon the trial by jury. Or if there is any difference between them, it consists in this: the former regard it as a valuable safeguard to liberty, and the latter represent it as the very palladium of free government. For my own part," he said, "the more operation of the institution has fallen under my observation, the more reason I have discovered for holding it in high estimation. And it would be altogether superfluous to examine to what extent it deserves to be esteemed useful or essential in a representative republic, or how much more merit it may be entitled to as a defense against the oppressions of an hereditary monarch than as a barrier to the tyranny of popular magistrates in a popular government." In this unusual year, we've come to appreciate the civil jury trial in the worst way, that is, in its absence. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a profound effect on the operation of our courts. We've taken measures to mitigate not only the effects of the public health emergency upon the judicial branch and its participants, but also the spread of the virus. It is just one way our lives have been upended by this pandemic. But for those of us who try cases for a living, or who are waiting on courts to try cases for us, the absence of jury trials may be among the most significant challenges to our sense of stability wrought by this pandemic. Thank goodness, we're accustomed to efficient justice. Our way of life presumes it. I, for one, will be less likely to take it for granted in the future. Now, in a room full of great trial lawyers, I hesitate to say too much about dealing with the unexpected. You are all masters at that. After all, a trial is nothing more than a series of surprises for which lawyers are more or less prepared. That isn't to say you wing it. On the contrary, everyone here today knows the special aging influence of trial preparation. Trial lawyers prepare to avoid certain surprises that are avoidable. but also, and really more importantly, to make the most of surprises that aren't. In my third or fourth jury trial, I learned this lesson from a master of the craft. Ben Daniel, a legendary veteran of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida, was assigned to supervise me in the trial of a man who'd been charged with unlawfully possessing a sawed-off shotgun, a semi-automatic rifle, and a bag full of ammunition. He was a felon several times over. DNA evidence on the weapons matched him to the exclusion of 8 billion other humans. His past notwithstanding, he had the love and support of a wonderful wife. I figured she'd take the stand and accuse the arresting officers, who had been dutiful and careful, of all sorts of misconduct. Every night for weeks before trial, I tossed and turned with premonitions of 11th hour revelations and accusations. And while I was busy fretting about what she might say if she testified about the day on which the defendant's cache of weapons was discovered, Ben had been preparing. He studied her distinguished career as a county employee. He traced how they'd been married through thick and thin, including serious illness. He learned what church she attended and that she was an active and giving parishioner. It seemed to me like he was building a case not to attack her credibility, but to bolster it. Sure enough, she took the stand, the defense's only witness. She testified in mournful sincerity that the bag wasn't her husband's, that she'd never seen him open it, that it had belonged to his friend and barber, who had asked him to keep it for him one day after cutting his hair, and that the barber, on the fateful day of that haircut, had died, leaving the bag with her husband. She couldn't remember the barber's name, and the defendant wasn't going to testify. Now, Ben had promised me that if the defendant did testify, I'd get to cross-examine him, and I prepared for weeks to do that, thinking I'd gotten the toughest assignment of the trial. But as Ben rose to cross-examine the defendant's wife, I was thankful it wasn't me. I will always remember his words, and also the fact that she used only one word over and over again to answer him. "Now, ma'am," he said, "you've given your life to the service of your community." "Yes," she answered. "You and the defendant have seen good times and bad." "Yes." "He's stuck with you, and you've stuck with him through thick and thin." "Yes." "Through it all, you've been together." "Yes." "You're a woman of faith." "Yes." "You know grace and you forgive." "Yes." "You love your husband more than you love yourself." "Yes." "And there's nothing you wouldn't do or say to protect this man." "Yes." Nothing further. The jury returned its guilty verdict after 15 minutes of deliberation. The combination of preparation and flexibility that Ben taught me is the trial lawyer's art. It is a careful craft of tactics, that is true, but it is also the grace to jettison a tactic that fails to serve a strategy, or the vision to jettison a strategy when it fails to serve a cause. Most of all, it is the ability to listen and to hear what others hear before they know they've heard it. In this trying year, I give a lot of credit to people who, like Chief Judge Tudor and Chief Justice Kennedy, have attended to and heard the needs of litigants and reacted with careful preparation and flexibility. Some of the tactics we've been forced to develop will, in fact, minimize unnecessary surprises. I think we'll retain some of those even when, hopefully soon, the distribution of vaccines and advancements in treatment bring COVID-19 into a more manageable balance with life as we used to know it. So if a deposition or scheduling conference or even a meteor contested proceeding can, with the party's consent, be conducted without travel, I expect we'll see lawyers at least wanting to explore the permanent feasibility of those alternatives. As every great trial lawyer in this gathering knows, it would be a mistake to let what we expected to be our reality get in the way of making the most of what has in fact befallen us. It has been a sad and difficult time. There are challenges ahead, but as we press on, the civil jury trial remains, indeed, it becomes increasingly, an irreplaceable safeguard for our liberties, one that requires us to be flexible, to consider and capitalize upon what we did not expect. I am grateful to this group for its efforts on behalf of this sacred constitutional freedom. One thing that will come as no surprise is my desire to thank you in person as soon as possible and to celebrate with you the good work to which you recommit yourselves all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Justice Couriel. We really, really appreciate you being with us here today for this happy occasion. Now, I'd like to call Robert Mcintosh. Unfortunately, during 2020, we lost some very important people in the ABOTA Fort Lauderdale family. And Robert Mcintosh is going to say some words about one of the founding members of the ABOTA Fort Lauderdale chapter, Mr. Ronald Fitzgerald.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be able to tell you about my friend and partner, Ron Fitzgerald. As the president said, Ron was a founding member of the Fort Lauderdale chapter of ABOTA. Ron was born in 1933 and lived 87 years until he passed away in December. He was born in Staten Island, moved to Miami when he was very young, went to Miami Edison High School, University of Miami, and Tulane Law School, where he served on the law review. After graduating in 1958, Ron came to work for the firm of Fleming O'Brien in Fort Lauderdale. Working for the firm gave Ron the opportunity to be a trial lawyer, and that's what he was the best at. He tried every kind of case, from medical malpractice to product liability to, I think his favorite specialty was maritime law. Ron was an early maritime lawyer in Fort Lauderdale and a very active member of Southeastern Admiralty Law Institute and the Maritime Law Association. He was a very good trial lawyer and enjoyed being in trial. And he really enjoyed trying marine cases. He had his own sailboat and he loved to sail, but I actually think Ron enjoyed working on the boat more than he did sailing. As a result, Ron was a very good mechanic and engineer, and he understood cases where you had issues with engineers and mechanical issues. One of what I thought was the highest compliment Ron got paid is Ron had a case with Shelley Schlesinger. It was a product case, and Ron represented West Bend. The jury came back with a defense verdict, and Shelley sent Ron a cartoon. The cartoon showed a dragon sitting on top of the remains of a knight's armor, and the dragon was picking his teeth. And the slogan or underneath the cartoon said, "Sometimes the dragon wins." And that's what Ron was. Ron was a winner, and he won all kinds of cases and accolades from his colleagues and partners. And he was a very humane person, a very gentle person, and he was always willing to help with anyone who needed it. I miss Ron, and I practiced with him for 25 years. And after he left the Fleming firm when we closed, he went to work for Conrad Shearer and practiced there another 20 years, trying cases up until the late 70s. I think he did that because he enjoyed it. Ron enjoyed being in trial, and he was very good. I witnessed Ron in trial in front of Judge King in federal court one time, where there was a new issue raised which hadn't been briefed. The judge asked Ron about the issue, and Ron, to my surprise, quoted the two cases that dealt with the issue, including the citations, without any notes. That's the kind of lawyer Ron Fitzgerald was. Ron's left a wife who was a member of ABOTA, Deborah Fitzgerald, and 3 daughters. I think the Florida Bar and the trial lawyers will miss Ron Fitzgerald because he was always there to assist us where we needed it. Thank you.
You're muted, Jeff.
Thank you, Bob. Am I still muted? I'm good, right? Okay. All right, Bob, thank you very much for your kind words. I know Deborah is here today, and we express our condolences and are thankful for your husband's contributions to law and to this chapter. The chapter is forever indebted to everything that he did. Now, next, we're going to talk about the Lawyer of the Year award and Trial Lawyer of the Year award, although there weren't too many trials this past year. But we would not have been able to do what we did without the advocacy and diligence of Mitch Chester. And, I met Mitch when I first started practicing law about 18 years ago. I was a baby lawyer, and he was one of the first defense attorneys that I met. And we hit it off even back then. And I remember him telling me about Jack Bauer in 24, and I started watching the show. Mitch didn't take advantage of me, even though I was a very green lawyer, and I never forgot that. And we kind of lost touch. But right before I became president, I saw he wasn't on the list for people coming to the dinner, and I called him. I said, it would be an honor for you to be there, and I'm looking forward to working with you. And he was there, and well, I didn't realize how important that phone call would be, but it made all the difference this year. So I'm very thankful that Mitch Chester is a member of the ABOTA Fort Lauderdale chapter. I'm so thrilled to be, awarding him Trial Lawyer of the Year. Now I would like to share some pre-recorded words from friend and former ABOTA Fort Lauderdale president, Joe Cashy.
Absolutely thrilled that you were selected as our chapter's Lawyer of the Year. I can't think of a more deserving person. You have served our chapter faithfully for many years, giving enormous amounts of time, effort, and talent. It's truly extraordinary what you've done for our chapter and what you've done for the system of civil justice in the state of Florida. You are a tremendously committed person. Whatever task you take on, you perform with all your heart, whether it's climate change or virtual jury trials. I am so grateful to you for what you have done. I have enormous respect for you and tremendous appreciation for all that you do. Thank you so much, Mitch. You are truly deserving of this award.
Members of ABOTA Fort Lauderdale, 2020 Trial Lawyer of the Year, Mitchell Chester.
Well, good evening or good afternoon, everybody. I am truly honored to be here. I have some stories to tell you that are very, very important that will guide us, hopefully, for the future. But first, some preliminary remarks. Just as scientists have traveled with all deliberate speed to develop and create the mRNA vaccine technology, we, you and I, all of you, as a community, infused energy, creativity, and persistence in meeting the needs of justice, civil justice, through video engineering. We worked together, hand in virtual hand, plaintiff and defense counsel, judges, court deputies, court reporters, judicial assistants, and yes, in-court clerks, the Judicial Information System Department in the 17th, the jury pool organizers. We worked hand in hand along with Chief Judge Tudor and the other circuit court judges in the 17th. to answer the call of this demanding and persistent pandemic. The work we have all done together offers hope for justice today, for now, and when future pandemics and other emergencies rage forward. ABOTA is dedicated, as has been mentioned, to the preservation of the civil jury trial. I'm going to go back and read the Federalist 83, Mr. Justice. Thank you for reminding me about that. That's very, very important. But ABOTA is a very strong organization that is dedicated to the enduring legacy and the future history of the civil jury trial. The Seventh Amendment is important. It means something. It cannot be diminished, especially by a virus. When faced with COVID, against all odds, all of us, you and I, everyone here, we have continued to promote successfully the civil jury trial. You have proven, you, all of you, have proven that justice will not be denied, and shown that even in the face of this tremendous challenge, James Baldwin, when he said, "Hope is born every day," was right. Hope was born when we realized we could go and do what we're doing with motion calendars and with special sets and my favorite calendar calls, non-jury trials, and hopefully jury trials. So let me tell you a story. Back in early March, I got worried and I did a video and I went to Judge Levinson. Judge Levinson, I will always appreciate that you let me bother you twice in court with that video. And I hung around and we talked about what was coming. You got me in touch with Chief Judge Tudor. And then he got me in touch with the judicial information systems. And none of this would have happened without a gentleman named Orlando Garcia, who is here today. He is an incredible digital wizard. And there are other people throughout the United States that play the role that, try to play the role that Orlando did. I think Orlando was a groundbreaker. And as I said to the New York University Civil Jury Trial Project newsletter, I think that I'm certain that Judge Tudor is a national, if not the national leader in trying to use video digital technology to the advantage of the system. So one day, Judge Tudor writes to Zoom, and Zoom responded, I think it was about a week, maybe less. And amazingly, Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, got back to Judge Tudor. It isn't every day. I mean, you don't get calls from, the big tech people, but Judge Tudor did. And because Judge Tudor took, along with Orlando, about 12 different ideas to Zoom, including some of the ideas that Jeff and I had and so forth. And the gentleman who Mr. Yuan suggested would be talking to us called us on a Zoom conference, of course. He wouldn't touch Teams. And what happened was that he spent about 35 minutes with us, went through all the ideas and said, every single one of those ideas could be done. And in fact, within a few months, he did one of the most important, that's moving tiles, so we don't all jump around. That company got my heart going because they listened to Judge Tudor. They listened to us. And so it wasn't just that Judge Tudor was working in the 17th for the benefit of everybody else. It wasn't just because all the judges, who I'll mention in a moment, were working to try to further the progress of civil justice during the COVID. It's that he went outside and helped courts nationally in order to help this technology mature to meet the demands of the courts. It was Judge Levinson and Judge Tudor that got us in touch with the NYU Civil Jury Project. And if you've never had a chance to read their materials, and understand the very important work of Judge Drummond and others up in New York are doing, please take a look. We have a link on our website. Judge Drummond, we're honored that you're here today also because the role you play in informing the courts about different challenges, different opportunities is invaluable. And all of your people up there at the Civil Jury Project. I always had him as a friend, but I gained a real friend in Jeff Edelman. And I see your dad is online today. Let me tell you, Mr. Edelman, your kid's really something else. He's incredible. I think he drank caffeine for about 12 months. He never stopped. The ever-ready bunny, he was tired. He couldn't keep up with Jeff. And so we would bounce ideas across Zoom or the phone calls. We haven't seen each other since, I don't know, maybe Abraham Lincoln was president. But there was another person also that kept me in whatever kind of a balance. Ever since I was a young lawyer, I always looked up to this gentleman as not only one of the best lawyers I've ever met, but a walking encyclopedia of the law, and that's Joe Casci. An incredible person and friend who has kept me balanced in this. But I want to mention a couple other things and I'll stop. Because Mr. Justice, as you know, lawyers don't like to be limited to 20 minutes. So I'll be shorter anyway. Orlando, I've already talked about you. We could not have done the progress without you and your persistence. Chief Judge Tudor, it's been an honor. It really is. Getting to know you. It's been fun getting to know you. And we've got a lot of work to do in the future. The jury trial is the fabric, one of the fabric of society. It keeps us together. And we can't let it be diminished by COVID, much less things like arbitrations or the costs of litigation or anything like that. It has a lot of challenges. Some of those challenges have been addressed and worked on by Judge Henning, who's a big advocate of helping jurors understand what the importance and making life easier for the jurors. All of the judges of the 17th were instrumental in helping us do what we're doing. Judge Phillips, congratulations, well deserved, as I wrote you. I remember we looked at options, Jeff and I and others, we looked at options at the 550 building next to our new courthouse to see if we could figure out, was there some physical way to do jury assembly rooms? Well, Chief Judge Tudor and all of you have proven you don't necessarily need to put 500 or 700 people if they show up into a jury room anymore. You can do it digitally. That is groundbreaking. That's a tsunami of change. So now I'll be thinking about other things in the future so that we can make additional progress. Judge Levinson, thank you so much for your willingness to listen and always being there. Judge Howery, the same, open-minded, just terrific. Judge Perlman, Judge Kuzen, thank you. Judge Frink, fantastic. I hope you got that microphone I showed you during one of the conferences because it makes life a lot easier. Judge Luzzo, I learned a lot from you sitting when we used to be in the old days, which was before February 2020. When you were on the bench, you taught me the difference between saying and or and not saying and or. And you taught me a lot about the English language there. And I miss you. But thank you for being here today. Eric Rosen. Eric was one of the people that was a groundbreaking presentation for the NYU Civil Jury Project. He did a mock jury trial. Brent Reitman, phenomenal. I'm glad you're our next president. I am honored to work, and we'll support you any way we can. But you were there with Dan Harwin, doing the hard work with Angie Castronovo and with Adele Blackmore and others to show that this can be done with a jury trial. Diana Santa Maria, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you and your leadership when you were president and your continued persistence in saying, go for it. Adele Blackmore. She also is one of the groundbreaking presenters for the jury trial, the virtual jury trial. And so it's really important. And so is Andrew Harris. Very, very helpful. And for those that are outside our area, like Adriana Gonzalez, you partnered with Jeff and you did a fantastic job to bring Palm Beach into this. And Miami came into it also. We had presentations sometimes every week for weeks. We were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to train judges as well as lawyers. And in so doing, we learned ourselves what we could do. And I'll let Jeff Edelman take the credit for learning about virtual trial director and how that can really make a difference in having good trials. So Rebecca Brock, thank you for all that you've done. So all I just want to say in finishing up, I hope I haven't missed anybody. I know I think I did mention Judge Perlman. I didn't want to forget your listening and understanding about this project and all the others. There were other judges as well on the 17th. I won't go over everybody, but they all were helpful. That's why I say all. But because it is part of the fabric of our society, and because 2021 is still a challenging year with a new variant of the virus, and as we distribute the vaccinations and so forth, the need for civil jury trials on Zoom is just as pressing as ever. And Judge Tudor and everyone, I pledge to work with you. We pledge to work with you to try to make that dream a reality. We want to be back in the courtrooms. You've done some amazing things with your courtroom in terms of trying to adapt for hybrid trials, for example. We all want to be back, but Plan B is really good and has you some great advancements in terms of understanding the body language, not being covered by a mask where you can see the facial expressions. I had a hearing in front of a judge up in Leon Circuit Court, 4.5 hours. I never met the gentleman before. After 4.5 hours, we got to like each other because we could connect, and you can do that too on Zoom. So thank you. I'm very honored and touched. I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate it. And the work goes forward. We're not done.
Thank you for everything, Mitch. Can you show us the award?
I love this. Cameron, you gotta see my face behind it. I love this. It's so beautiful, and it's heavy, so I'm not going to hold it up long. But it means a tremendous amount to me. And by the way, I don't remember if I said it. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Bob Spector, who got me into ABOTA, my good friend, Bob Spector. And Bob, I will never forget the gift you gave me for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything, Mitch. Like you said, the work goes on. Next, Ron Shapiro is the man who brought me into ABOTA Fort Lauderdale. And we're going to memorialize Mr. Shapiro now. He was very important to so many members in this organization. Was a superb trial lawyer and mediator. And I've asked his former partner, Marty Sperry, to say a few words. Mr. Sperry.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm both honored and saddened to be able to say a few words about my dear friend and former partner and actually past chapter president, Ron Shapiro, whom sadly we lost on October 27th of this past year. I met Ron back in 1985 when my former partner and I were interviewing for an associate in the office. Ron came in, he was young, 27 years old, a month away from the birth of his first child, his daughter, April. And when I met him, I knew that this was the guy I wanted to practice with and wanted to practice with for a long time. Fortunately, we were able to do that. Ron and I practiced together for 29 years, the last 22 of which we also practiced with Joe Cashy. So the three of us were together for those 22 years. The one thing that really stood out when I first met Ronnie was that I knew in my gut that this was somebody who's going to be a great trial lawyer. And he was. I would love to take credit for making him that great trial lawyer. But the truth is, Ron was a natural. He was great. He was magic. He was charming. He was persuasive, bright, and just an overall great trial lawyer. In the beginning, when Ron first started working, he was so enthusiastic that it was sort of, whoa, Nelly, back up a little bit. He was just chomping at the bit to get into the arena. But when he did, he was exceptional. He was brilliant, but he also had a great sense of the courtroom. And throughout the practice, whether it was in depositions, meeting with clients, negotiating, and everything he did in the practice of law. As time went by, about 16 to 17 years ago, actually, he found a new love, and that was mediations. While he still practiced with us, still did practice law, he gradually increased his practice of mediations. And many of you may not have even, some of the younger members may not have even known him as a trial lawyer, but only knew him as a mediator. He was one of the best. Sadly, I never had a chance to mediate with him. Nobody would agree. And then I finally encountered one lawyer who insisted that we use Ron as a mediator. And I was incredibly excited about that. Unfortunately, Ron retired from doing mediations and from his mediation practice within a few weeks before our mediation was to go forward. So I never had the pleasure of having Ron as my mediator in a case. And how much I wanted to do that, very sad about that. Ron was a member of ABOTA going back to 2004. He loved ABOTA. He served as this chapter as president and did a great job doing that, as he did in everything he did. Most of the time I spent with Ronnie was at work. Unfortunately, taking him away from his family, at least I felt that way. Ron's loving wife, Sue, is here today with his kids. And Ron was Sue was the joy of Ron's life. Sue was his devoted, supportive, and loving wife who was his lifeblood to the end. Always there to help him through the hard times, never complaining, and with a smile on her face, a very special person. Ronnie's other joy was his three wonderful children. April, a successful executive with Delta Airlines, was Ronnie's little girl who made him so proud with her accomplishments. And actually, one of my accomplishments was I knew Ron longer than April. Michael and Brandon, Ron's sons, they were the family artists. Both were and are accomplished actors, and Michael, a writer. When they were both in high school, when the boys were in high school, men now, Ron made sure that Joe and I were at every one of Mike and Brandon's school plays at high school. And frankly, they were both really good. Ron's family always came first to him, as it should. He was a husband and father we could all look up to, and I know his family was proud of him. I miss him very much, as I'm sure Joe does also. Not as a lawyer or a partner, but as a dear, dear friend for many years. Even after he left the firm to mediate, he still remained one of my closest friends. I miss my regular lunches with him that we did about every month. after he was out of the office. And then at his home when he wasn't able to go out, up until COVID put a stop to my visits there. Ronnie will be missed by all. I loved him as a friend. And as Walt Blitzer says in his nightly memorial, may Ronnie rest in peace and may his life be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Well, last year I made the mistake of not recognizing the new members who have joined ABOTA over the past year. So I put it like in the second half of the program, so I did not forget. I'm not going to do that twice. I'd like to recognize the new members of our chapter, keep things going. Tammy Alvarez, Todd Baker, Michael Carroll, Jason Glussman, Jonathan Kaysen, Bonita Navin, Mark Brotman, Joseph Nussbaum, and Jordan Kirby. Welcome to the ABOTA Fort Lauderdale family. You all should have received your plaques by now. We normally do a ceremony, but we're very happy to have you on board. And our chapter is growing even during a pandemic. Now, I'd like to call on Chief Judge Jack Tudor for the installation of our new officers. Brent Reitman, President, Eric Rosen, President-elect, Angela Castronovo, Secretary, Miles McGrain, Treasurer, unfortunately could not be here today. Myself, ABOTA Representative, Tammy Alvarez, National ABOTA Representative, and Adele Blackmore, National ABOTA Representative.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And on behalf of the 17th, I welcome all of our friends and family members who were able to be with us, our judges from the Supreme Court and the District Courts of Appeal, and of course, all my colleagues. So it's my honor then tonight to swear all of you folks in. It doesn't have quite the pizzazz when you swear somebody in on a remote camera, but we'll give it our best anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the following folks to please raise their right hand. I'll read the oath. And then if you can summon yourself, your part of this participation is to simply say, I do, if you're inclined. So if you all will just, let's see, I'm going to call on Brent Reitman, who's going to be the president, Eric Rosen, the president-elect, Angela Kostranova, the secretary, Miles, who can't be with us tonight, he did text me, Jeff Edelman, who's going to be the ABOTA representative, Tammy Alvarez, National ABOTA representative, and Adele Blackmore, the National ABOTA representative as well. So the oath goes as follows. Do you solemnly swear that in performing the duties as an officer of the Fort Lauderdale chapter of the American Board of Trial Advocates, that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, including the 7th Amendment thereto? Further, do you solemnly swear that you will uphold and follow the Constitution and bylaws governing the American Board of Trial Advocates and the foundation of the American Board of Trial Advocates, and will carry out the purposes of those organizations to the full extent of your ability? And finally, do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office of the Fort Lauderdale chapter of the American Board of Trial Advocates, upon which you are now about to enter? So you all could say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. So then, having taken the oath of office, I now declare you to be truly and duly sworn officers of the Fort Lauderdale chapter of the American Board of Trial Advocates. I want to, in the last vein, discharge the prior board and thank them for their service to ABOTA through the strife of 2020, and wish all of you a good success in 2021 on the board. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
ABOTA Fort Lauderdale, new president, Brent Reitman.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening.
Congratulations.
This is such a fantastic honor, and thank all of you for being here. I know that, it's Friday afternoon and there's been multiple Zoom events today. But first and foremost, I want to thank our outgoing president, Jeff Edelman, for just a fantastic year. His leadership and combined with his constant optimism is precisely what we needed to make it through 2020, and what he put together this year was quite special. You know, it seemed like when the world was shutting down, ABOTA was just starting to speed up. And, courthouse doors were closed for a blink of an eye when we had jumped into action to try and figure out what this new normal was going to be like. We started immediately with webinars and helping people transition into, you know, a practice of law that's vastly different than what everyone was used to. I, for one, was extremely happy to be able to tune in to those webinars, to hear, you know, Judge Tudor and his leadership to bring us through this time of great uncertainty. And I think that we were successful in transitioning to a virtual practice of law. You know, I must have seen Mitch Chester demonstrate how to use dual monitors at least 50 times. You know, no one expected that the quote of the year this year was going to be "You're on mute." And I think that, you know, looking at, you know, just the little boxes here, that Joe Cashy is sitting in front of a green screen. You know, I think that we did well in moving everyone in the correct direction. And it was so great being part of, you know, the virtual jury trial program that we were doing in Broward. That, you know, before anyone was comfortable with Zoom, Eric Rosen had already taken part on the NYU Civil Jury Trial Project. That, you know, we had Judge Tudor, Judge Levinson, and Judge Henning preside over what I thought were some fantastic virtual trials. We were able to see that that was something that could work. That, you know, we watched a jury yield that was far in excess of, you know, what people would expect in-person trials. And the jurors, they were excited and engaged in the process, and it was excellent. I have some fond memories with, you know, Jeff and I picking a mock jury that we had a practice in front of a veneer that included Judge Carlos Rodriguez and Judge Phillips, who were quite opinionated as prospective jurors. But what I really look forward to next year is a return to normalcy. And you know, I don't know that anyone knows what that normal is going to be like, whether it's going to be a return to how life was, you know, pre-2020, or whether this next year is the normal is going to be doing what we're doing right now. Whatever that is, I know that ABOTA is going to be there, and us as trial lawyers and our fantastic judiciary, we're all going to be there to meet that challenge. All of us who are here right now are here because of our support and our admiration for the Seventh Amendment. I want to call on everyone to do what they can this next year to protect our beloved Seventh Amendment and to not be an impediment to this constitutional right for some perceived or tactical, you know, strategic benefit. Mitch didn't you know, mention this, but he authored a fantastic article on this, and I agree with it, that, you know, we all have an ethical obligation to make sure to assist our circuit and make sure that justice is not being delayed. And on top of that, the members of this organization, I believe, have an affirmative obligation to promote and conduct jury trials in any way that they possibly can be conducted, whether that's in front of a jury box, hopefully, or whether it's going to be in front of a computer screen. You know, this year, Judge Perlman even discussed the possibility in trying to protect the Seventh Amendment. You know, the possibility was discussed of an outdoor jury trial. And it's just been fantastic this year how the judiciary has worked with us in trying to keep our courthouse doors open as much as possible. And I think it's up to us to continue the path that we're moving, because we all need to do what we can to ensure that the Seventh Amendment is preserved for everyone. So with that, I'm looking forward to an amazing year coming up. I'm hoping to continue where Jeff has left off. I want to thank my partners in advance, Sean, Ivan, and Scott, for allowing me to devote so much time and energy to this particular organization. To Liz, I love you. Thank you for putting up with me. And thank all of you for being here. So with that, I think we're going to hear some remarks for our 2020 Judge of the Year, Judge Carol Lisa Phillips. So with that, I will turn it over to our, I believe it's a recording, Judge Tudor.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 ABOTA Awards ceremony. I was asked to say a few words about my good friend, Judge Carol Lisa Phillips, who is the recipient of the Trial Judge of the Year award this evening. Before I do, I just wanted to say a couple things. I want to commend all of the members of ABOTA and all of the lawyers in all three counties, Broward County, for helping us move the dockets, for embracing the Zoom technology, and for everything you've done to help these cases move during the pandemic. I also want to congratulate my friend Mitch Chester for his work with ABOTA this year in our virtual jury trial project. His help and expertise, as well as the folks who helped us with those virtual remote jury trials, was outstanding, and we could not have been successful in our endeavors without everyone's help. So congratulations to you, Mitch. Your recognition is well deserved. Judge Carol Phillips and I don't think crossed paths when we were lawyers. I first met her when I came to the bench. I think she was serving in the family division at that time. You would have to look long and hard for someone to say something negative about Judge Phillips. She, like all of us, has her, shall I say, uninterested fans, but they are, in her case, very remote. She is one of the hardest working judges we have here in the circuit. She is always in her office, quiet and deliberative. Sometimes we don't even know she's in the building. When I came to be elected chief judge, Judge Phillips was my immediate choice for the administrative judge of civil. She's been there now almost 4 years. She's done an outstanding job. She's able to build bridges between both the lawyers and the judges. She takes care of problems quietly behind the scenes, and she rarely comes to me with anything that might need my intervention. So I don't think you could have chosen a better recipient for this award than Judge Phillips. It is long overdue that she is recognized for her outstanding work as a judge and a member of the 17th Judicial Circuit. With all of that kindness said, I think I would be remiss, because we all have faults, to discuss one of Judge Phillips' major faults. And that is her complete lifelong dedication to the Florida Gators, who recently lost to my beloved Sooners, 55-20. So Judge Phillips, what I would offer to you is, I have that game on a loop, playing 20 hours a day in my living room. If you will stop by, we will critique the game. And I think by the end of the evening, you'll be asking to borrow one of my Oklahoma Sooner shirts to begin the new college football season in 2021. So congratulations to you, Judge Phillips, and to Mitch Chester, and to all the members of ABOTA. And we're all hopeful 2021 is a lot better than 2020. Thank you all for inviting me to speak, and everybody have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Judge Tudor. I could not agree more. Next, we will hear from David Strong to introduce our 2020 Judge of the Year, Carol Lisa Phillips. David, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. You may not know, but I had the pleasure of working with Judge Phillips for a little over 8 years. One thing people may not know is during that time, she tried over 80 trials to verdict. with excellent results. She was an excellent trial lawyer. And one thing that always stood out that I remember, because I'm briefly supposed to speak, what stood out to work with her, whenever she went over to the across the street to a calendar call, she always announced ready. When the opposition was always coming up with excuses and reasons for continuance, she always asked or told the judge that she was ready to go and she'd like to take number one if possible. And that always stood out. Another thing about our office that stood out is the best raises always went to the attorney who closed the most files. And every year, as hard as I tried, she always won. Yeah, and she's still laughing about it. I see. It was incredible. She just worked so hard. And so as to you fellow judges out there, fellow judges, if you've ever tried to compete with her and keeping your pending down, I just have to warn you, you're up against a trained professional when it comes to closing files. Now, in addition to closing files, I think she may have pulled off more office pranks, but I cannot prove that. It was a good group of folks. We were all good friends. And lastly, what stood out about Judge Phillips when she was a practicing lawyer is the way she treated her opposition. Although she always tried cases to win and mostly did, they liked her. Because she treated her opposition with courtesy, with fairness and respect. And we knew she had the qualities to be an excellent judge. So when she was picked by the governor to be a judge, we knew that not only would we have a nice judge, we would have an excellent judge. And I'm happy to say I was right about that. Become a judge of the year is a really big deal. This is what the lawyers think of the judges. And as competitive as always, this is the second time she has won this honor, and well-deserved, well-deserved. She works very, very hard, and the lawyers always enjoy appearing in front of her. So congratulations, Judge Phillips. It is an honor to announce you as our Judge of the Year.
Now, I guess I'm pleased to announce our 2020 Judge of the Year, Carol Lisa Phillips. Let's give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you all so much. I mean, it means so much to me. Chief Judge Tudor, he knows how much I love numbers, and I think Mr. Strong just backed that up as well. I thank you both so much for your kind words, and without you, I wouldn't be here either, because both of you made me a better person and a better judge. So thank you, and most of all, thank ABOTA. I mean, I'm so honored and humbled to be here, and so honored and humbled to receive this award. I'm lucky in Chief, in defense of my Gators, they did play much better against Alabama than Ohio State did. But you are correct, and I will be wearing red when we return to the courthouse, because Oklahoma did give us quite the beating. And you are right. You won that one. My family is here today. I'm lucky enough. My mother and my father and my husband, Jim, and my wonderful and beautiful daughter, Rachel, are here. And I love you all, and thank you all so much for being here today. My work family, Minerva and Maria, are both here. Without them, they're invaluable. They help me so much. And Mr. Strong, they also help me with my production numbers and help me keep my cases moving. So I thank them so much. Carolyn, who is my court deputy, couldn't be here this evening, but I want to thank her, because if you don't have a solid team and you don't have a cohesive family within your unit, it doesn't work out well. And they are always behind me 100%. And they, just as when I worked back with David Strong, and I know Mr. Carroll is on here as well, when we all worked together, we all worked wonderful together as a team, and we all backed each other up. So thank you. And thank you for the kind words, Mr. Strong. I accept this award today. I stand on the shoulders of my wonderful colleagues, all of the circuit civil judges in the 17th Judicial Circuit. without them, they make me look good. They are open to everything that has happened during this year. All of this Zoom, when this happened, they immediately were agreeable and stood up to the challenge and started the next day. We did not miss one day of hearings. The next day we had phone hearings for the first week, and immediately upon getting the Zoom licenses, we were on Zoom and we were moving forward. We kept moving and they were all for it and open to it, and they stood up to the challenge. And I want to thank all of them. I thank them. Without you, I would not be here this afternoon accepting this award. Our chief has stood tall and provided great leadership throughout this challenging year. Some people have asked him to do things and have questioned his authority. He has always thought about us and thought about you and thought about the courthouse and everybody who works within that courthouse first. And he has taken, and he's had to take that challenge, and he takes that challenge, and we appreciate it. And he's running for another term, and God bless him. We need him because he's a wonderful chief judge. The technology department, Orlando, Garcia, Sonny, Craig Berger, everybody that has helped out, got us up and running, gave us help. I text Orlando in the morning, my Zoom is down, something's happening, blah, blah, blah. He gets immediately back with us. He has been on the forefront. Craig Berger was on the forefront. We were working on getting the owl and the courtroom set up back in March. I mean, it's incredible how fast we were trying to work and move forward. To Brent Reitman, congratulations, sir, to the incoming president. It's a wonderful, wonderful, I mean, you know, you guys all know how much I love ABOTA anyway. But to you and the executive board, you have huge, huge shoes to fill. I mean, Jeff Edelman has gone above and beyond this year, but I am sure that you and the rest of the board are up to this challenge. I mean, without Jeff Edelman, I mean, he was asking to have these updates and these meetings to talk about Zoom and everybody get on board again. This happened in February. We closed down at the end of February, March, and we were already starting to have these updates and ABOTA meetings in March. It's incredible. Mitch Chester, I think Judge Henning said it best. You are a true mensch, sir. The endless hours that you have volunteered and have made such a difference in our Zoom lives this year. It's incredible. Without you, I would not have this headset on. Without you, I would not have this virtual background that I'm able to change around. I mean, sir, thank you so much, Mr. Chester. You have really, I know we went over to the building. We've tried to work through, we've tried to accomplish different things and move in different directions. If one thing didn't work, we moved in a different direction and tried to have something else work. As you all know, and I say it often, ABOTA is the best of the best. And when I speak at CLEs, etc., and I always say, I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to professionalism and ethics. And this year especially, the countless hours, everyone, and I don't want to go into start naming folks because it's really, truly has been everyone in ABOTA that has volunteered throughout this year. The technology meetings, the meetings where you have invited all of the different counties to come and give us updates about what is going on and what we can do. How can we help? What can we do? The continual updates, the mock trials. We initially did a mock trial in-house. Then I know Chief Judge Tudor went to you guys and said, can you help us out? You guys jumped at the chance to help us out. We did a virtual jury trial, virtual selecting of the jury from folks after we sent out summonses. You guys were there. You guys did this. You helped us continually throughout this year, and we can't thank you enough. I'm truly honored and humbled. And you guys know I mean that. I'm truly honored and humbled to receive this award. I thank each and every one of you and my colleagues and my family. This has been a year like no other in our lifetime. I see a lot of things on social media when we talk to our grandchildren at this point. I'm lucky enough, my daughter Rachel is here attending, and my parents are on the line, and my husband is on the line. But hopefully someday when I have grandchildren, when I talk about the years, I may try to skip 2020. But this has been a year like no other in our lifetime. And I think looking back, we can all say, we made a difference. We kept the wheels of justice moving forward. We adapted. We found one way or another to move forward. And we did it in warp speed. I mean, seriously, in warp speed. And I would be remiss, it's been amazing between ABOTA and Braulio and everyone at the Broward Bar. No challenge has been rebuked. Everyone has a we can attitude. If you can see, and I'll sit up a little, I have on this kind of like a Tom Petty jacket, and I had my Gator background on, virtual background on. And so in the words of Tom Petty, we won't back down and we're not going to stop. The Seventh Amendment exists and we should move forward. And I've said over and over and over again at these meetings, please. Anyway, Judge Perlman came up with the idea, let's do it in the garage. We're willing to do it half virtually, half live. I can't wait to get back to trial. My hope is that we continue to move forward in 2021, stand together, work together, continue to come up with ideas, new and innovative ideas, and hopefully someday soon get to see you guys back in the courthouse in person. Truly, we as judges, we miss you guys. We really do. Especially the ABOTA attorneys, we truly miss you guys. We get energy from you. It really, honestly, we miss the daily interaction. And given this, in the words of Martin Luther King, because I think it's appropriate since Monday is Martin Luther King Day. If you can fly, if you cannot fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Thank you all so much. And I truly appreciate it. And I truly appreciate all of you. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Judge Phillips, and congratulations once again. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for displaying the award, because if you did not receive it, that would have been my fault. So thank you again, and thank you. Congratulations to Mitch Chester. You guys have both just been phenomenal this year. Just a few things in closing. I want to, again, thank everyone for being here. We absolutely appreciate you being here for this special night. I'm sorry that we're doing it on Zoom, and I hope that next year, my dearest hope is that we're able to do it in person and all be together. I want to thank our wonderful sponsors for this event, our title sponsor, Friedland, Harwin, and Valori, Lieberman, Cabrera, Thompson, and Reitman, Boyd, Richards, Parker, and Colinelli, Edelman Injury Law, Upchurch, Watson, White, and Max, and Rosen Injury Law. We could not have done this without all of you. Everyone, we look forward to a fantastic year. Please visit www.abotaftl.org to keep up to date with all the wonderful things that we're going to plan for the next year. And with that, that concludes our program. Hope to have another fantastic year. And one more congratulations to our outgoing president, Jeff Edelman, for everything that he's done and putting together this wonderful event. So thank you, everyone.